I'm with Al-HASSAN from the Ghana Railway Development Authority. You would have seen previous interviews I've done with Ghana in terms of their railway, sadly with Richard, who passed away some time ago. But at the time, Ghana was a developing, really exciting environment for rail and railway projects. And then after COVID, we haven't really seen much come out of the region, or if there is, there hasn't been much conversation. So I am with Al here, who's going to tell me a little bit more about Ghana Railway Development Authority and some of their projects. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
What's happening in Ghana?
Oh, a lot. My name is AL-AMIN IS-HAK AL-HASSAN. I'm the Director for Policy and Planning at the Ghana Railway Development Authority. And I'm attending this conference with our board chairman, the deputy CEO who's at there, and the board secretary. So yes, we're excited to be here and to be talking to you. Now back to Ghana Railway Development Authority. We are the infrastructure developer, the infrastructure owner, and the infrastructure maintainer. Added to that, we do rail regulation for the operations. So generally, this is what we do. And when you talk about the works that are underway in Ghana, yes, there was excitement in the past, as you put it, but the euphoria is still there. We're still doing a lot in railways. Several of our lines are out there for construction. Investors are still coming and trooping in to see what they could introduce from construction into rolling stock and then into the signaling and telecommunication system. So yes, as far as Ghana goes and Ghana Railway Development goes, a lot is happening.
A lot is happening. So I think it's a couple of years ago you guys released the Ghana Railway Master Plan.
Correct.
Okay, so if we had to go from there to where you are now, have you made any progress?
Okay, so the Ghana Railway Master Plan was developed around 2013. It was revised in 2020. So the current Master Plan is Master Plan 2022-2035. The Railway Master Plan today is an ambitious program to develop about 3,887 kilometers of railway line.
Say that again.
3,887, approximately 4,000 kilometers of railway.
By when?
By 2035.
Okay.
So progress, currently we have several lines that have been phased out. We have the Western Railway line running from Takrady Depot through to Takwa, from Nsuta to Takwa, Dunko all the way to Kumasi, the second city in Ghana, with spurs leading to the mining areas around Awasu and Yinahin. That's the Western Railway line in brief.
Yes.
The Eastern Railway line is the section from Accra through Achimota and Sawam Kofodua, going all the way to Nkoko areas, Jisu to Buankra Inland Port, and then we end up in Kumasi again in a shape like that.
Yes.
Then we have two ambitious sections, the Eastern expansion and then the Western expansion. The Eastern expansion forms part of the Ghana-Burkina Faso Railway Interconnectivity Project. You must have heard of that.
Yes.
That's a bilateral project that we have between Ghana and the Burkina Faso to link the two capitals and help carry freight from the port of Tema to Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso. Then again, we have the coastal line, which is more or less our ECOWAS extension to connect Lomé in Togo to the east and then Côte d'Ivoire to the west. So in principle, we have those, but then we do have some transverse lines that connect many of the agricultural areas. And then the western expansion that goes all the way to Hamile in the northwestern section of the country. In principle, those together form approximately 4,000 kilometers. Like I said, 3,887 kilometers.
Yeah.
By way of progression, we have done almost 102 kilometers on the western line from Takrady Port through to Manso and then to Huni Valley.
Yes.
We have done the Tema-Mpakadan railway line. That is more of a multimodal railway connectivity project to connect the sea to the rail, to the inland water system. Then you go all the way to Buipe by barges, and then you connect to Tamale in the northern region, and then to the northern neighbors. That has commenced. It's about 97 kilometers of the line, almost 100 kilometers if you talk of the tracks.
So you're saying that's commenced?
That's about 98% complete.
98%, okay,
Yes,
that's
so
exciting.
I'm saying it's commenced because it simultaneously forms the first leg of the Ghana Burkina Faso Railway Interconnectivity Project, which links us to our neighbors in the north. So that's how the systems merge currently in Ghana.
So when we talk about operations, who's operating?
The Railways Act, the operations are more or less related to our Railways Act. The Railways Act 2008, Act 779, decoupled us, the developers, from the operators with an allusion that, or with an objective that there's going to be private sector involvement in the operation to bring in private ethos, commercial values, and efficiencies. So currently,
that is still an objective,
yes,
the private operators
exactly.
Okay.
Currently, we only have the state operator who hitherto have owned the railways.
Yes.
So when we were decoupled and Railway Development Authority was formed, they remained focused on operations, and they are called the Ghana Railway Company Limited. And that's their mandate to operate the railway network.
So now you've got the Railway Ministry, you've got the Railway Development Authority, you do have a state-owned operator. Do you have the regulatory side also established in terms of, being able to say from a safety, from a standards, from a access fees, is that all established or is that still being established?
Yeah, so what the Railways Act did was that it merged temporarily the role of the regulator to the functions of the developer. Because they want to be sure that private operators come in, they want to be sure the regulation side is independent of the operators in the interim.
Yes.
So once the network is fully developed or significantly developed, we decouple the roles of the functions of the regulator from the functions of the developer. Okay. So at the moment, Railway Development Authority does the development, ownership, and maintenance of the assets. At the same time, under the ministerial instructions, they function as the regulator.
Okay.
But we do have a more independent regulatory directorate within GRDA who function as the regulator and partly even regulates us in GRDA. So they regulate the operator with the focus of regulating many of the operators that will come on board, and currently does the regulations of the Railway Development Authority. So
in terms of private sector participation, where we talk about not from the operations side, from the infrastructure side, how do people do business with you guys? Like, if I've got an idea or if I've got funding, how do we do business? How do we build your infrastructure faster?
Well, the point, as a very just to put it, we've got to build the infrastructure first, and then we get into operations. Or as we build the infrastructure to a certain extent, significant lengths, we bring on board operators, because railway is point-to-point thing. If you haven't reached that city where you need the operator, you wouldn't necessarily bring them on board. Yeah. How we contract our projects generally have been through Government of Ghana funding, through competitive tenders, and in some cases, preferred bidders. Yeah. We also have situations where it is purely on debt, and interested contractors or investors have submitted bids, gone through our tendering and procurement processes, and won tenders where they are the ones who arrange the facility, the loan facility, and intrinsically they are linked to it. So they come to do the construction. All right. So the one we built, the 100-kilometer Tema to Mpakada railway line, is built by Indians under the India Exim Bank arrangement. Yes. The Takrady, the Kojo Chrome through to Manso is a Government of Ghana funded project built by a company called Amandi Infrastructure Limited, Amandi Investment Limited. Okay. And then the Manso to Huni Valley one is still being built by Amandi. And we have the design consultants that who designed the full length of the railway line, the Western Line. They are called Team Engineering from Italy. Okay. So it's a combination of players within our sector.
All right. Well, I thank you very much for your time. I look forward to seeing Ghana Railways in September, hopefully in September, and seeing more progress coming through.
Sure. I mean, it's a lot of things happening. We probably didn't talk a lot about signaling, how we get the signal and telecommunication working simultaneously. We would be looking at individual ways of getting it done and getting it to fit the network that we have. Currently, we have the African train control systems working, we will be looking at alternatives that are interoperable with the current system, so that we have standardized ways of managing the whole of the network,
Yes.
and then looking at the traffic and signal of the network.
Well, you've got to keep in mind that you're not just building railways in country, you're connecting to your neighbours. So you've got to have interoperability, and obviously I'm assuming that you would like to have that as a seamless connection.
Exactly. So if we have Ghana and Burkina Faso on a railway network, and we are looking at connecting Togo in the east to Ivory Coast to the west, or Cote d'Ivoire to the west, so naturally that international collaboration, partnership, looking at how we tender and how we procure the project, the standardized way of standards for construction,
Yes.
the gauge itself, making sure that when the rolling stock come on board, we don't have a mismatch between a Cape gauge and a standard gauge. All of that
Yes.
is those considerations, or the regulatory framework to do that
Right.
has all been thought of at the moment.
Oh, good. I'm pleased to hear that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And thank you, my Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Yao. So thank you, Honorable Minister for Railway Development, Mr. Peter Abel, MP, and
Yes.
my Deputy CEO, Susanna. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you. And the team in Ghana Railway Development Authority, everybody there, all the deputy directors. See you.